So this video is for Integrated 3 for our Chapter 2. It's titled number 135. Okay, so it's a problem 135 from Chapter 2. It was Friday's classwork. And I just want to make sure that everyone understands how to do these problems. So I'm going to run through them here on this video. So on all of these, our goal is to get one of the following equations. So one equation would be for a parabola, which is going to be y equal a times a quantity x minus h squared plus k. That's what a parabola should look like. Then a circle. So a circle's equation is x minus h squared plus the quantity y minus k squared equals r squared. And then in both of these, they ask us to either find the vertex or find the center and the radius of the circle. Okay, so on letter A, we're dealing with a parabola. The one thing we want to do is when we're doing these, and let me just write y equal a x squared plus bx plus c. And actually, I'm going to get rid of the a. Let's look at it this way. X squared plus bx plus c. In order to figure out how to complete the square, you want to look at the b. Okay, the b is a coefficient in front of your x. And what you're going to do is you're going to take half of your b, and then you're going to square it. And that's what's going to make it a complete square. So on the very first problem here, what I generally do is when I have a number, like I do on letter A or letter B, that is a constant, probably not helping us make it a perfect square, I usually just take it to the other side. So I'm going to go y minus 7 is equal to, and I'm going to give myself some space, is equal to x squared plus 6x. And now I need to figure out what am I adding to both sides. And so I am going to take my b, and I'm going to divide it by 2, and then I'm going to square it. So that's going to be 3 squared, which is 9. So I'm going to add 9 here, and I'm going to add 9 here to make it into a perfect square. And then when I clean this up, I'm going to have x plus 2 is equal to, and on the other side, I'm going to have something squared. It's going to be x, and it's going to be plus because of the plus here, okay? And then to figure out what goes here, it's whatever half of your b was, so half of 6. So half of 6 was 3, and that's what's going to go here. And then my last step is I am going to subtract the 2. And so I'm going to have x plus 3 squared minus 2. That is going to be our answer. And then when they want us to identify the vertex, I'm going to be looking here, whatever makes this 0, which is going to be -3, comma, whatever is here, this is going to be our k, so it's going to be -2. And that's our answer. On letter B, I'm going to first do like I did on the last problem and get rid of that. Let me just get a different color here. I'm going to get rid of that 11. So I'm going to have f of x minus 11. I'm going to give myself some space, equals. And then I am going to have 3x squared plus 12x. Now, our problem is we do not want to have a number in front of our x squared. So I'm going to factor out this 3, which is going to be nice because 3 can factor out of both of these nicely. So I'm going to have f of x minus 11. Again, I'm going to leave some space. I'm going to factor out my 3, and I'm going to have x squared plus 4x. And then I need to figure out what I'm going to put here. So when I'm doing this, I am going to be looking at this 4, okay, and I am going to be taking half of my 4 and squaring it. So half of 4 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to add 4 here. Now, what I have to be careful of is we do have this 3 in front. So this is really a 3 times 2, sorry, 3 times 4, which is going to be a 12. So I added 4 into this parenthesis. I'm not adding 4 over here because this is a 3 times 4 or 12. So now when I clean this up, I'm going to get f of x plus 1 is equal to 3. And then again, I'm going to write this as a perfect square. So it's going to be x plus, and then I'm going to take half of my b, and half of 4 is 2, and that's what goes here. Then I'm going to minus the 1, so I'm going to have f of x is equal to 3 times the quantity, x plus 2 squared minus 1. That is going to be my equation. And then when they ask us for the vertex is going to be whatever makes this 0, which is going to be -2, comma, -1. So I'm going to get -2, comma, -1 for my vertex. Now see, this is a circle. And so I'm going to complete the square twice. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get my x's together, okay? And I'm going to get my y's together. So I've got this y and this y, okay? So I'm going to group them together. So I'm going to rewrite this, okay? And so I am going to write this as x squared plus 2x. I'm going to leave some space. And then it's a plus because there's a plus right here, and circles have to have a plus in between. And then I'm going to have y squared minus 4y. Let me make that look like a y. And one more time. And then is equal to 4. So in this case, I'm going to take half of my 2. Okay. And when I take half of 2, I get 1, and I square that, I get 1. So I'm going to go plus 1 here, which means I also am going to go plus 1 here. And then over here, I'm going to take half of -4. So when I take half of -4, so half of -4 is -2, and -2 squared is 4. So this is going to be a plus 4 here and a plus 4 here. And now I need to write this as 2 squares. So I'm going to have something with an x squared and something with the y squared equals 9 when I add that up. And so my first parenthesis is going to be x plus, and then I take half of my 2, which is 1. That's going to be x plus 1. My second one's going to be y minus because of the minus here. And half of 4, or half of -4 is -2. So this is going to be a -2. And that is our equation of a circle. And then they want us to find two things: our center, which is whatever makes this 0, which is -1, and whatever makes this 0, which is 2. So it's going to be -1, comma 2. And then my radius is the square root of this because r squared is what's here. So the square root of 9 is 3. So my radius is 3. On letter D. Now on this one, again, I am going to minus this, take that to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to have f of x minus 2 is equal to x squared plus 7x. Okay, and I'm actually going to write this in two forms here. So when I'm doing this here, let me do this other one in a different color. It's the same thing, but I'm going to write one time as a fraction, one time as a decimal. So I need to take half of my b. So half of 7 is 3.5. And then I'm going to square 3.5. Okay, so I can do it as a decimal. So again, half of 7 squared. I'm going to write it in two forms. If I'm doing it as a decimal, okay, half of 7 is 3.5. And let me just put in my calculator here. And 3.5 squared is equal to 12.25. Or if I leave it as a fraction, half of 7 is 7 halves. And when I square that, I get 49/4. So I could write it in both forms. Okay, so in the blue one, I'm going to write it as a decimal. And in the red one, I'm going to write it as a fraction. Okay, so I'm going to be adding 12.25 to both sides. 12.25. Let me see if I can just move this over. Okay. And then in my red one, if I'm doing the red one, I'm going to add it as a fraction, 49/4. So that's going to be 49/4. Okay. So then for the blue one, when I clean that up, I'm going to have f of x is equal to 10.25. Oops, not equal to, sorry, minus. That was a minus. Minus 10.25 is equal to, and this is going to be x plus, and half of 7 is 3.5. So I can go 3.5 squared. Then I'm going to add the 10.25. So I'm going to have f of x is equal to x plus 3.5 squared plus 10.25. And so if I'm doing it in this form, my vertex is going to be negative 3.5, comma 10.25. Now, if I'm doing it as a fraction, what I'm going to do with this 2 is I'm going to rewrite the 2 in terms of force. Okay, so I'm going to have f of x, and 2, if I times top and bottom by 4 to get it to be a fraction, is really the same as 8 force. That's the same as 2. Plus a 49 force is equal to x squared plus 7x plus 49 force. Okay, so this is going to be f of x minus 41 force is equal to the quantity. And when I do this, I'm going to have x plus, and half of 7 is 7 halves. Leave it as a fraction. And then I'm going to add 41 force. So I'm going to have f of x is equal to x plus 7 halves squared plus 41 force. And so my vertex in this form would be a negative 7 halves, comma 41 force. Let me write my 4 better. And again, these are the same two answers. One is as a decimal and one is as a fraction. Now, we do want to know how to do it as a fraction when we're solving equations, because sometimes the answer actually cleans up to something relatively nice. But if we're doing it as a decimal, it's not going to be so nice. So I do want us to understand how to do it in the fraction form. But here for graphing a parabola, I would accept it in this decimal form. Okay. So on letter E, there's nothing to take to the other side. So this is going to be y equal, but I am going to, and here I'm going to give myself some space though. I'm going to take out a 2 from both of them, and I'm going to have x squared plus 8x, and I'm going to leave some space. And then I'm going to take half of 8 and then square it. So I'm going to get a different color. Okay, so I'm going to be doing half of 8 and squaring it. So half of 8 is 4, 4 squared is 16. So I'm adding 16 here. Now I have to be careful because this is not a 16. It is a 16 times 2, which means this is a plus 32. Then I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to kind of do it in one big step. It's going to be 2 times, and this x squared plus 8x plus 16 is going to be an x plus, and again, whatever half of 8 is what goes here. Half of 8 is 4 squared, and then my minus 32. So this would be my equation. And then my vertex would be negative 4 comma negative 32. Okay, and on F, we have a circle. So let me get my x's together, which is just that. Let me get my y's together. So I have a y squared plus y. And let me take my number to the other side. So I'm going to have 8 minus 2. So I'm going to have x squared, and that is a square. So that is done. And then I'm going to focus on the pink part of it, which is going to be y squared plus y. And then I'm going to be taking half of 1 and squaring it, which is either going to be a 1/4 or a 0.25, okay, depending on how you're going to write it. So let me do it as a 0.25. And then on the other side, I had 8 minus 2, which is 6. And then again, I'm adding 0.25, I apologize. And so I'm going to end up getting x squared plus, and this is going to be y plus, and then this is going to be half of 1, which is 0.5 or 1/2 squared. And then I get a 6.25. And so my center is going to be at 0.5 or 0.1/2 if I did it as a fraction. And my radius is going to be half of 6.25. I'm sorry, square root of 6.25. And the square root of 6.25 is going to be a 2.5. So that is going to be my radius. So hopefully this helps. I know we just were doing the notes the other day. I just want to make sure everyone understands how to complete the square to write the equation of a parabola or a circle.